Unbelievable. It's just got even worse for President Joe Biden. I mean, fresh off his disastrous performance last Thursday in his debate with Donald Trump, who was so confused that even Democrats told him, look, you've got to quit. The Supreme Court has now destroyed Biden's hope to have challenged Donald Trump jailed and out of the way before the November election, which otherwise Biden's almost certain to lose. Prosecutors from Biden's Democrat Party had charged Trump with trying to steal the last election, including by allegedly sending a violent mob to the US Capitol after he lost. But the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 that Trump actually has immunity for any official acts, although not, it said, for unofficial ones. And it pointed out the Democrat prosecutor in this case in Washington was in such a rush, apparently, to charge Trump that he didn't distinguish between Trump's official actions or unofficial ones and slapped together comments that Trump had made before the riot without giving any context to them. So it was all hopeless. Got it back to a lower court. So that now probably won't happen. That case probably won't happen until after the election. No hope for Biden then. But the left are now carrying on like this very sensible decision is a shocking attack on democracy. And one of the three dissenting judges, the far-left Justice Sonia Sotomayor, kicked off that by actually claiming that when a president uses his official powers in any way under the reasoning of the majority of her fellow judges, he will now be insulated from criminal prosecution. So even if he orders the Navy SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival, immune. I mean, you have to be insane to believe that. But Joe Biden is that insane. He is so desperate, in fact, that he agreed with this crazy conspiracy theory and begged Americans to do what he'd hoped the judges would do for him.
Nearly 4 years ago, my predecessor sent a violent mob to the U.S. Capitol to stop the peaceful transfer of power. Now the American people will have to do what the courts should have been willing to do, but will not. The American people have to render a judgment about Donald Trump's behavior. The American people must decide whether Donald Trump's assault on our democracy on January 6th makes him unfit for public office, in the highest office in the land.
That's where it should be. It's a decision of the voters. But even then, Biden, reading from an auto cue so he didn't fumble, projected weakness because he didn't dare take any questions afterwards and risk once again losing his train of thought.
I dissent. May God bless you all, and may God help preserve our democracy. Thank you.
Mr. President, will you drop out of the race?
Why are you the best Democrat to beat Trump?
What makes you so confident you should be the president?
What advice would your family give you, Mr. President?
Joining me is Sean Spicer, Donald Trump's first White House spokesman. Sean Spicer, great to see you again after this long break. Listen, this ruling today, 6-3 by the Supreme Court, does it really mean what one of the dissenting judges said, Justice Sotomayor, that President Trump could now actually order, if he's elected again, the assassination of a rival?
You know, I'm glad that you brought that up. She specifically referenced SEAL Team 6, the Navy's very elite special operators. And the reason that I'm glad you brought that up is that I saw a lot of activity on social media saying that this could mean something like this. That is a lie, and it's irresponsible for somebody like Sotomayor to say it and for journalists like some in America have done, because the military will never execute an unlawful order. And if SEAL Team 6 or any other military entity or unit or individual received an order to assassinate a U.S. citizen, political opponent, they wouldn't carry the order out. It would not be lawful. And I think that it is irresponsible for a court to perpetrate that kind of narrative on the American people and make them believe that it could be true. Now, there's a lot that this ruling means and doesn't mean. Frankly, I think it means a lot of common sense. The idea that we give police officers and government officials in the United States immunity from their official acts makes sense that the president would get a similar type of immunity. And this isn't just a partisan thing on one side or another. I mean, frankly, considering President Trump brought this up in the debate, that the idea that any president, in this case, Joe Biden, could be prosecuted for his failures in office that resulted in, say, the loss of life. I don't as a Trump supporter, I would never want that to happen to any president, regardless of party. And the idea that Democrats are trying to twist what the court did today is shameful, frankly.
Well, I think what the judgment really did was expose what a gimcrack outfit that case against the prosecutors who pushed that case against Trump really are. I mean, the court pointed out, listen, you haven't even tried to distinguish between official and unofficial acts, and you haven't put Trump's comments in context. It seemed like a rush job to get rid of him.
That's exactly. I'm glad you spot on there. I think the time away has made you even smarter, because this is exactly this is the point that you get this from all the way in Australia, and so many people in America don't. Why wouldn't the case against Trump, if you felt strong, should be that he wasn't making any of these acts as an official in his official capacity as president. I'm a non-lawyer. I didn't think that was that to me seems like a pretty smart strategy, and yet they clearly were so bought into the idea of trying to make it that it didn't matter. That shows you how weak the case is. But the idea that a president of the United States acting in their official capacity could be found criminally negligent after leaving office is absurd. And I don't care what party you're a member of here in the United States. You should not want that to happen. You should not want a prosecutor in some random county in America going after you because an official act resulted in, say, the loss of life of an American citizen, unfortunately. This is not how we should be operating. And if Joe Biden really wanted that to happen, I would be very concerned about his well-being after he left office.
Well, this wasn't for any of the reasons that you just suggested. This was just to get rid of Donald Trump ahead of the election because of sheer fear that he's going to beat Joe Biden. Now, here's the thing, Sean. Joe Biden, after that press conference on Thursday, desperately needed to prove that he could string a few words together, that he wasn't reading off an auto cue. Here's a big issue, Supreme Court ruling, threat to democracy, he says. You'd think it'd take a few questions afterwards. Not a bit. They wouldn't trust him to do even that. He just shuffled off, not taking questions and not trusting himself to be unscripted. What did you make of all that?
Well, a couple things. Number one, he needed to give the media something new to talk about that could shift. And it was like clockwork tonight. The second he left the lectern there, the podium, they all said, oh, that was the Biden we knew. He's back. He just needed to give them a new talking point. They were desperate. The New York Times and CNN needed something to say to pivot away from that disastrous performance last Thursday. So that's number one. Number two, I remember when Democrats and the media were outraged with President Trump using the White House for political acts. Tonight, he gave a primetime address and asked for television time, which is the prerogative that's only reserved pretty much for presidents, to give a full-throated attack on our judiciary and the president and the former president, his political opponent. That's something that last cycle outraged the media and the press. And tonight they said nothing. He used his power as president and used the backdrop of the White House to do something that the media and the Democrats were outraged when President Trump did something like this. But no mention of that at all tonight. It was pretty shocking to see how quick that the tables turn. Not only that, as I said, when you attack the judiciary, apparently it's okay if you're attacking it from the left. But when folks on the right do, gosh, then democracy is under attack.
Oh, yes. Where is your respect for the rule of law? But it doesn't matter here. Just finally, Sean, something you just said, I think this is a fascinating thing, right? On Thursday, Joe Biden's performance was so terrible. It was just undeniably terrible. He had left-wing commentators, CNN commentators, you had even Democrat officials say, oh, my God, Joe Biden has got to quit. We've got to replace Joe Biden. That's it. Game over. But since then, Jill Biden, his wife, has said, we're not going anywhere. Joe Biden says he's not going anywhere. His staff say he's not going anywhere. And in fact, they can't replace him. Technically, it's almost impossible to replace him or to knock him off. Now what you're seeing is commentators doing the reverse ferret and saying, well, Joe Biden, you know, he's not so bad after all. He really still does have it. I mean, it's ridiculous to see. Sean Spicer, always great to talk to you.
Welcome back, Andrew. Great to see you.